Hey guys, this is going to be a tutorial on Ark of Osiris, basic play and how to play. First of all guys, I'd like to welcome you guys to the channel. I am a free-to-play T5 player. If you guys are brand new here, my original goal was to hit T5 within 10 months. I did it on day 273, and those are the credentials that I stand on whenever I give you guys advice or I tell you guys how to play. It is either stuff that I had done or that I wish I had done. So without further ado, this is the long-awaited Ark of Osiris guide. This is how I see the game, and honestly, these are pretty basic. I don't think there's a lot of contention with the stuff I'm about to go through. So the first thing, I'm going to break this down into three sections: preparation, play, and fighting. So the first thing you're going to want to do is preparation. So we're going to be using this video that I took of me doing my own Ark of Osiris to show you what I personally do in order to prepare, to play, and to fight. Keep in mind that I am a T5 player and that I am capable of performing rallies and garrisons, so my play might be slightly different than your play. However, I'm still going to give context for other players and what they should be doing. So the first thing in preparation that you're going to be looking to do is you're going to look to clear your hospital. You're going to look to pop a defense boost because you get an attack boost in Ark of Osiris, making an attack boost less effective and less meaningful. So you want a defense boost, at least a 25% expansion. 50% expansions on Ark of Osiris are generally not super useful, and I think your kingdom would generally prefer if you use a 50% expansion when you're open fielding in a KVK. If your kingdom is really, really sweaty, they'll let you know, but a 25% boost is general courtesy, what you should do so your teammates don't hate you. No hospital and no war fury. Some people are going to try and troll you. This actually worked on me, to give a little bit of vulnerability here. One of my viewers was just like, oh, hey, why don't you just get the War Fury buff by scouting someone right before Ark of Osiris? So naturally, I was 20 minutes late, and I never made that mistake again. And I'm telling you guys not to make that mistake so you don't have to learn the hard way. So you can see me here. I immediately go in. I pop my troop capacity buff, and I start looking at my commanders. Over here, I'm going to set up my equipment. This is another thing that you should do, is you should set up your equipment. So I have been tasked this time with being the obelisk capturer. So if you are capturing an obelisk, you're generally going to do it with a Dragon Lancer March, and you're going to equip that Dragon Lancer March with Windswept gear and T1. Because T1 Cav is the fastest in the game. You don't have to have a full march of T1 Cav. You just need to have any amount of T1 Cav, Dragon Lancer, and Windswept gear to make this work. I don't know why I'm drooling on myself here, but here I am, setting it up. So I'm taking all my Cav gear off Belisarius. I usually have it on Belisarius because I like running the Ark itself, but if my job is simply to get our obelisk, the obelisk takes priority over the actual Ark. Another person can do that. I'm not the only person on the world that likes picking up the Ark. Another thing that I'm doing here is I'm double checking that the equipment I have on works. So the three marches that I generally use is I use Martel as a primary, Richard as a primary, and Guan as a primary. So I have to make sure that all three of those guys are outfitted with decent gear, so they're not getting shit on. Your gear means nothing if you're not equipping it. So something that I didn't do here that you should be doing, you're going to see my preset marches as I go in here. So you're seeing I'm going to select through my marches. I have them on my red marches, and I have Baibars Pella, I have Ethelfled, Mehmed, I have Charles YSG. So I have all these marches that I have previously selected so that when I go into this, I don't have to fumble around with my marches. You only have a couple of minutes to really get everything out as fast as you can possibly get them. So it's very important that you set up your marches beforehand. So that's about it for preparation. There's nothing else like absolutely devastating. Although I would say it'd be really nice to your alliance if you showed up early on Discord. You did a RSVP. You vocally said what's up. This game mode is almost entirely based off of communication. Obviously, power, like if you're in a very early kingdom, power is always king. But as you move forward, comms are really the things that separate a good team from a great team. So the next thing we're going to discuss here is play. There are two general types of play. There is 2-lane play and there is 5-lane play. So up here, we're looking at the map, and you can see that there's pretty obviously 3 lanes. There is the middle, where the Ark is, there's the top side buildings, and there are the bottom side buildings. This is your most basic form of play, and you generally won't see 5-lane play unless you are significantly more advanced. Then they will usually take your Discord and they'll break it up into little groups, so you have little shot callers for each ones. And then, you'd have the bottom 3 buildings as one lane. You'd have the 3 buildings on top of it as the next lane. And then you do the same thing with the top, and then obviously your middle lane would be the Ark. And then your outposts are kind of like a job delegated to generally lower powered people to kind of keep safe and, ninja other people's outposts and hit their farmers. So those are your 2 types of lane play. You're generally not going to see lane play in the 5 lanes. I just figured I would tell it to you guys just in case you ever heard of it, and now you're not completely confused. So if you are a low power player in this scenario, right now you see me trying to see what marches I want to bring out. So first I want to bring out 2 marches that can fit in a garrison. You want infantry in your garrison. So I actually missed getting my slow armies in a rally. So I'm going to have to march out there very, very slowly. So you want to bring a maximum of 3 marches because you want to fit 1 march if you're the primary teleporting group. You want to fit 1 march in the garrison of 1 building, 1 march in the garrison of the other building, and 1 march in the obelisk. If you fit all your marches into different buildings, you can still teleport. So because I'm a primary teleporter, I wanted to get my marches out there to guard the buildings and then teleport as fast as I could afterwards. If you are a low power player and you are not the first to teleport, you're going to be looking to really do 5 separate jobs. You're going to look to fill rallies, fill garrisons. You're going to look to debuff and buff in the middle. You generally don't want to debuff and buff on buildings just because your open field is so weak that if you get targeted, you're kind of dead. Versus if you get targeted in the middle, you have so many friends around you, it's really not a huge issue. And, supply or farming is actually really, really crucial in this game. If you guys watch any amount of Osiris League, you'll notice that a massive chunk of the points, generally about a quarter of the points earned in any given match, are from supply alone. So it's very important that when you guys have extra marches that you just start gathering. Number 1, it's going to help you get to 10,000 points, but number 2, it's going to help your team win the Ark of Osiris. And overall, you play to win, right? So when you're playing, you're going to want to play with your team specifically. This means that you're not going to be lazy farming. If you have a couple extra marches, you're not just going to drool on yourself and chill. When you have open marches, you're going to start microing them on the open field. You're not going to let them come back home. You're going to send them from caravan node to caravan node so you stop the walking distance back to your place, right? You're going to get as much supply as you humanly can. Okay, you're going to use farmers like Sarka, Joan of Arc, Constance, Expertise Sion Diok, commanders that give gathering speed to everything work. Overall, if you're running 5 gatherers because you're very, very early in the game, you can obviously just use every single gatherer and, gather for your life depends on it. But if you're only using 1 or 2 marches, make sure Joan, Constance, Centurion, and Sarka are coming out. Those 4 definitely need to come out. If you have Expertise Sion Diok or Expertise Matilda, those 2 can also be possible because they give 10% caravan on top of what you already have in terms of supply. And the last part of this is listen to calls. You have to really realize that you probably don't know what the fuck's going on. There's a reason why the people that plan Ark of Osiris plan Ark of Osiris. And if they're bad, you can obviously vote them out and plan it yourself. But if you are not planning it, if you have not taken that responsibility, it is up to you to listen to the calls made by the people above you. If somebody says, we're going for the middle, or we're going for the sky altar, we're going for the desert altar, we're going for their obelisk, whatever they say they're going to do, it is much better to have everybody make a bad call than to have some people make a bad call and some people make a right call. It is important to play with your team. And listening to calls is just how you do that. So being in Discord is absolutely crucial. If you are not in Discord with the ability to talk and hear your teammates, you're doing a massive disservice to your kingdom, a massive disservice to your alliance, and I would highly, highly recommend. In fact, no, do it. Download Discord. Talk to your fucking team. That's not even no sugarcoating, okay? Listen to your fucking calls through Discord. The last point here is going to be fighting. So you're going to want to fight in the open field in the middle. So if we scan through this a little bit, we'll go through our first Ark contest, okay? You want to try and go to the middle around 3 minutes out from the Ark is when you want to start going. More advanced teams might do it at 6 minutes or 5 minutes, but 3 minutes is generally a pretty good rule of thumb. You don't want to be any later than 3 minutes, and you definitely don't want to start fighting until your team is consolidated. This goes back to listening to calls, but if you start open fielding randomly, you're not only wasting your troops, but you're in turn wasting the mass that you guys would have had in the middle. So over here, you can see that they have already started flooding into our side for the Ark of Osiris. We were focused really hard on buildings. So we personally are not combating them. That was a huge mistake on our part. We're actually going to lose this arc because of it. We have essentially called that the arc is going to be off. So over here, the call is made to go to Ark of Osiris. We've skipped to the next arc where we get here on time. And as you can see, nobody's fighting. They're not fighting. We're not fighting. I'm sending my Belisarius March out here because I want to pick up the arc and run with it. Having a fast march is always good. And I'm going to end up sending my Ethelfled March over there if I'm not currently trying to aid in a building. Sometimes, you know, the arc is looking pretty toasty and you've got a lot of players over there. And sometimes, you know, you just have to be one of the first players to get over there. Sacrificing buildings, obviously you're not trying to rail all of your buildings, but you're trying to have them protected enough to where when you go for Ark of Osiris, you're not going to lose your entire flank. So if you're in a forward building, going to Ark is pretty okay. If you're in one of your back buildings, you know, you might want to keep a march in one of those back buildings. So over here, you can see like some of them push up and we are pushing towards them to try and push them off, right? We want to push up. That's what the call is being right now. We're going to consolidate our forces right in front of the Ark so they can't grab it and we can grab it. Something very important to note here is that if you are picking up the Ark of Osiris, number one, there should be a designated person trying to pick it up. But if you are trying to pick up the Ark of Osiris, you have to do it from your side. So if we are on this side and we pick up the Ark of Osiris, we are essentially picking it up for them, okay? But if we pick it up for this side, we're picking it up for us. So we're pushing them back, we're pushing them back. So over here, we catch them in a fight. You know, we walk up, they accept the fight, so we pop a buff and we start beating the shit out of them. In this situation, we have a numbers advantage, so us popping a buff is really, really, really strong. We're going to completely wipe their marches, and we're going to be able to take the Ark. Generally, they're either going to back up, pop a march of their own, or start funneling in reinforcements. That didn't happen here, which is a mistake on their part, which is why we end up getting this Ark. As you can see, I grabbed the Ark from our side. I tried to grab the Ark from our side. One of our teammates grabbed the Ark on the other side, which was a huge mistake, actually. I'm pretty sure that dude got yelled at. And essentially, this is when you should go middle. You know, you start at 3 minutes out. You look at the arc. You know, if it's a contestable arc, you keep putting shit into it. If it is not a contestable arc, which your communications will tell you, then, you know, you should go back to focusing on buildings. But generally, about 3 minutes out, you should start focusing on the arc. You want to fight with your team, and you want to make sure that you are getting valuable trades, whether that's debuffing, buffing. It doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're doing it with your team and you know why you're doing it. The last thing on this list is when to teleport and how to teleport. So essentially, most Arc teams are going to have this thing down here. It's called Divine Intervention. Okay, Divine Intervention is going to give extra teleports. So generally, people are divvied up with who will teleport when by who will teleport before the first Divine Intervention, after the first Divine Intervention, and after the second Divine Intervention. If you are going to teleport immediately, right, you are going to have to do what I did and only bring out a few marches that you can stick in buildings so you can teleport. If you're going to teleport as a second string or a third string, it's way more lax, and you need to pay attention to your outposts, which are these little buildings in the back, because you can kind of stick a couple marches in those and then teleport to the obelisk of your choosing. Of course, you should refer to your the map that your alliance has made for you for who goes where and who is on which team. Generally, they have an A team and a B team, even if it's 3 or 5 lane play. So that's going to be it for this. Preparation, play, fighting. These are all like very basic Ark of Osiris concepts. I get asked these a lot. Overall, if you are a very low power, I know I'm also going to get this one. If you are a very low power player, the TLDR of this is fight with your few marches in garrisons and rallies until you no longer have any other marches. Then after that, gather with your 5 marches because supply is really important. When you gather, you want to send your supply from node to node rather than let it come back home so you don't waste any time walking back. You also have to be very careful to look out for your caravan nodes because, especially in low power games, people are just hunting farmers all the time. That is going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this content, I highly suggest you subscribe on here and follow me on Twitch. If you guys ever want notifications for when I go live or post a video, or you guys want to contact me outside of when I am live or commenting on YouTube, the best place to do that is the Discord in the description below. Something to note is I answer a lot of the questions on YouTube, but I really don't get to them all. But if you add me on Discord, I will for sure get to your question. Also, if you guys are watching this video right now, I'm currently live on Twitch, and I would invite you guys to come over. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful day, and I hope this guide helped you guys. I'm actually going to be making a part 2 on this, which is how to win Ark of Osiris, which is going to go deeper into the actual strategy of the game as I know it. Have a great one, guys.